Hi there, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the third video in the restoration series of this Blaupunkt Sultan. In this video, my objective was to work on the radio sections, get the radio working, FM and AM, so that I would move on to the next stage in my normal progression. Fate had other plans for me. And what happened was I got bogged down with some physical issues. I'll give you a hint: dial string, frozen, tuning cap, another one. All those things that need to be sorted out before you can actually test a radio. And I finally got to the end of that, sorted that out, and I finally was able to work on the radio section, which will happen near the end of the video. So what I'm going to do, if you're the sort of person who doesn't like to watch somebody suffer too much, at the start of the restringing of the dial cord, I'm going to put a timestamp where you can just skip that part if you want and go straight into where we find out if this is a radio at all. So if you like this sort of thing, stick around and enjoy the video. Before we carry on, I want to thank the sponsors of the video, PCBWay. You'll find them at PCBWay.com. These are the guys I go to for all my PCBs. And lately, I've been looking at some of the other services they have, which are quite amazing. If you look at their products and capabilities page, you will be surprised. And I'm sure you'll find something for your needs. When you go to the details page for placing your order, you'll see all the options they have here. From the size, to the number of layers, to the type of material, thickness, and so on and so forth. Admittedly, I've used mostly the standards, but the one thing that I really like is some of the colors they have. This matte black I've used before. It really looks good, and especially if you use a particular surface finish like immersion gold and selective gold, and they really do look great. So if you need any PCB work done, go to PCBWay.com. I'm sure you'll be satisfied. I decided to remove this back plate of the front panel. As you can see, it's rather grimy. This thing just comes out with some screws, bottom and top, and that's the one that's broken over there. I've got the little piece that goes on here, so I'm going to have to fix that. But first of all, let me just explain something. These screws that hold that plate on also do something else, and I didn't realize that. They actually hold this board in place. They screw into those holes over there, or actually there's like a railing down below here. So you've got to be careful, because one thing removes more than just the plate. The other thing you can see here is that it literally drops the entire tone pot. That's being held on there by that screw. So when you put it back, you've got to be careful with that. Make sure it's in the right position and that it's put in. I only realized this when I took it off. I saw that fall down, and then I realized this whole thing is loose. So again, we need to be very careful. And while I'm on this stage with the front exposed, I'm also going to take the opportunity to redo the dial cords. This is the AM dial cord. I've got the diagram, shouldn't be a problem, but I'm going to redo them. But first of all, let me show you what I'm going to do with this. First thing, I'll go wash it in some, just in the kitchen, just soap and water. I'll wash this top bit as well, and then we'll figure out a way of permanently connecting or gluing that to the top there. It shouldn't be difficult. I need to glue this on here, and it sort of forms a bit of a ledge there. So what I decided to do is I got a bit of plastic. This was cut from a water bottle, and I've actually punched the hole. I don't know if you can see that. That hole is going to meet that hole there. And I'm just going to glue both sides, put it all together, clamp it together, and then I'll be able to trim the excess on the top and sides. That should do it. I don't want this thing to come loose, and I want it to match perfectly so we don't even see the edge there. That should work. Let me try it. That's all clamped. We'll leave it for a while, see how it comes out. I think that came out very well, actually. You can just see the dent there. It might actually be behind, I don't even know if that's going to be visible, but I'm going to make that disappear as well. And that is on the back. So now I'll just trim it. That's what my wife's magazines are good for. She mustn't hear me say that. A little bit of glue on there. Okay, that's good. That goes to the back. You won't see it. And it'll just clamp like that. The hole's already made because I punched a hole in there. That's good. Let me see if I can fill that somehow. These acrylic paints are actually very good. I've got a very small brush here. I just need to sort of fill that gap. Start at the top. You can barely see it. This paint sort of fills that little gap just right. Yeah, let that dry. Should be done. I was preparing to re-string this, and I've just realized why the string broke. This capacitor is completely locked up. Now, whether it's grease or some other mechanical reason, I don't know. But we're going to have to loosen it up before we put a string on, or it's just going to do the same thing. So I'm going to try the usual, which is a little bit of WD-40 in the joints. This thing is completely jammed, because ultimately, and this is not a good thing, ultimately I may have to remove the whole thing. I have very seldom had one which is so jammed. Oh, no, it's moving. Okay. It's very tight, and this would break any string. This looks like dry grease to me, so let me loosen this up first. I'll use some alcohol on the joints and see if I can loosen it up, and then we can start thinking about the restringing. Well, that was a lot tougher than I expected. This thing was completely jammed up, and it was dried up grease. The reason I know is that I first tried pouring WD-40 into all the joints, letting it sit for a while. It wasn't quite doing it, and then finally I got the soldering iron and I heated the shaft in the middle here, left it for some time. That sort of melted the grease on the inner shaft there, or the inside there, and finally it started coming loose. And I think finally some of the WD-40 managed to creep in there. And after leaving it for a few hours, I was able to really start moving it, and now it is actually quite free. Okay, so let's start the restringing. I was going to use my usual dial string somebody sent me quite a while ago, and it's worked very well so far. Then I realized something. This dial string is actually quite thick, and the reason it's quite thick is because it goes through a slot in there. That's the AM one, and it doesn't actually roll around. It's just one length of it. In other words, there's one turn around there. Normally you go a couple of turns, so it grabs. This thing is one turn, and because it's one turn, you can see the FM one there. If it was too thin, it would just slide. So I had to find something a little bit thicker, and I think I've got the right thing. This string here is the stuff they used to use in the old shops in Madeira to tie packages. It's actually very cheap, very simple. It's a little bit thicker, and it has one slight problem. It stretches a bit. So what I did is I made a loop of the stuff, and I hung it from the doorknob, and at the other end I put a weight on it, and I left that overnight. So I think I've sort of pre-stretched it as much as it will stretch, and now we can start working on restringing this thing. And we've got the drawings for that. This one is slightly different again. Bloody hell. Normally you would actually have two clips or springs on here where you'd tie the ends of the dial cord. This one is not tensioned here. It's actually tensioned where the pointer is. In a way it's fine, it's actually better, but what happens here is you've got a certain number of turns, and it goes from the front to the back through that little groove over there, and you can clearly see that in the drawing. You see, what we've got here is that the ends of the dial string are not really here. These are the ends, so let's start there. It goes like that, goes once around there, comes along, and then on the inside it goes, follow the string one, or rather one, 2, 3, goes around the little thingy there and then goes through underneath, which means you can't really do it like this. You've got to start on the other side because you can't come underneath and okay, makes sense. Let's start again. So we shall start here, okay? There it is, there's a spring that tensions it. You can sort of make it tension to wherever you want, but let's start here. Goes like that. This is why these drawings are so important. They actually are quite clear. Round that pulley, round that guy once, doesn't go twice or 3 times, up there counterclockwise, and there we go. Then we go like that, once around, through the gap, and we're away. Then we start 1, 2, 3, and we go. Yeah. Okay. So you see, playing with the drawings actually just saved me a lot of work. I would have had a hell of a problem going from there and threading it underneath. So I've got to start over here. And what you can see here is I've got the capacitor completely open, unmeshed. And the reason I figured that's where it's supposed to be, because it doesn't say that on the drawing, is because on the drawing it shows the dial pointer over here for the AM, and the AM over here is the higher frequencies. So higher frequency, lower capacitor. Lower capacitor means unmeshed, which is why I gathered this is the position it should be in. I'm going to start from this side. In other words, I'm going to leave the long string on there and I'll just keep pulling it through. So I'm going to start here, and then it tells me to come around this pulley. Actually, there's bits. Oh, I didn't see that. There's bits of old dial string on here. That thing really just pulled itself apart. And I guess there's some on this one as well. Yeah, there is. Okay, so we come over the top one. And it's this one here. And I'm going to sort of tension this over there. Enough that I can pull it through, but so that it doesn't flap in the breeze. I'll just put this like this. That should keep it more or less in place. That's better. So, yep, it can come through. It comes like that, then it goes down here and up. So, goes through, down through here, just catch it there, and then pass it up, and then it comes to here. But now I've got to direct that to the groove, and this guy's come off here. Okay. So far, so good. Then it goes around here once, and on the inside, like that, it goes around that little thingy there, and then it comes through underneath itself. So I've got to pull this through. Have I told you I don't like restringing stuff? I think I might have mentioned it 1,000 times or 2. I'm going to have to give it a lot more length because this thing needs... Let's see, how does that work? Yeah, that'll work. I'm going to give this a hell of a lot more length. In fact, at this point, I'm almost pulling it all to the other side. So what did I say? It goes around over there. So if I do this and bring it across like that, and then this goes around the top, right? Yeah. But that has to come through there. I was never going to be a seamstress, as you can probably tell. I should have started with some blue tack to hold these things in place like I usually do, but I thought this would be easy. Was I wrong? Oh, what? Let's see. Oh no, not back. Okay. Okay. Now, goes like that. Goes around once. Twice. No. Don't slip now. Twice. Once. Twice. I don't want these things to tie up here, so I've got to get them in the right order 3 times. Okay. Is that it? Yeah, it's too short. But that's okay. I can sort that out. I can start feeding more string this way. I might be able to do it. Let's see what happens if I try to... Oh yeah, that works. That's the idea. Okay, so now all I need to do is I've got to give more string on this side, and I need to give it about, this thing's got to go to the end and come back. I need just, a couple of inches, 5 centimeters or so. This should be fun. Okay, I think we're back to being on track. 1, 2. I think I've got it. I think I've got it. Right, I think I've got it. Comes from there, around the top one, through the spindle here, just the 1 turn, or half a turn actually, through that pulley, counterclockwise, then it goes in there, around, into the back, through the gap, over here, comes out the front, goes 1, 2, 3, and we're off to the races. I think that is correct. And this will come off to here, over the top, and that'll tie into, you know what, I think it's still not enough. Oh jeez, idiot, I should have given it so much more. Why don't I ever learn? Okay, let me do that exercise again. I won't bother you with it. I shall suffer in silence for a change. Now, the way I understand this, I've marked where the end of the dial pointer comes to. So the way I understand this, you put a loop on here. You don't actually tie a knot, I don't think. You pass this through here again. Should have been a Boy Scout. Would have been much easier. I would have learned how to do knots. Well, that was a pain. This was, at first I thought this would be easier than the others, but it wasn't. Getting this tension right took me quite a while. Oh, cat's up here again. But it seems that the whole thing is moving nicely. I won't know if the extremities are fine. This is the end of it. So I know that the pointer can fit in here quite easily. How does it go? Like that? Or is it like that? I'm not even sure. It'll be about there. And then at the other end, we'll have to make sure that when it follows across, it can get there just fine. Yeah, this thing needed quite a bit of tension because down there is no turnaround. It literally slots into that gap and it's got a catch. The other thing you have to be careful of is when you get to this end, that's the end, and the spring hasn't hit the pulley yet. So I think I've got it. Finally. If restringing dial cords was not my favorite task originally, or before, it's now even lower down on my list of favorites. All right, time to move on. Well, I believe the odyssey is over. I think I've got it all done, finally. Both the FM and the AM has been done. And I've checked, I put the faceplate on here and I checked that it does indeed go to the extremities. I'm leaving the faceplate off for now. And it goes all the way across. And of course, I decided to do the FM as well because it was in its last legs, almost about to break. And I've also adjusted that so that the dial pointer goes to the two extremities. I really should take a different attitude with these dial strings. I think they become more difficult because I believe them to be so. But I'm glad that's over, for now. And now, I'm actually just curious to find out if this thing is a radio at all. I obviously needed to get this sorted out because the tuning condenser was stuck before testing the radio. But I think it's a good time now to put that faceplate on here, tie this thing up. I don't want to test this with this board wobbling around. I'll put in the tubes and see if we get anything. All right, finally. Can finally test the radio. I've got this connected through the dim bulb tester. I've put the tubes in. That output tube is the new one, as I determined that the old one was very weak when I did the audio testing. So that's a new tube. Those two, EAF 801 and the ECH 81, are the original. So let's go. I've got the speaker connected. I've got the mini whip antenna connected to the back. So this is FM, shortwave. Let's try medium wave. Volume is at max. All I can hear is this. Just a bit of a buzz. It's not good. Oh, it's coming up, coming up. I've got the dim bulb with 3 lamps on, so it's not very restricted. Not good. Let's try long wave. Wonder if the oscillator is working. Shortwave. Let's try FM. I'll change the antenna at the back to the FM port.
Chuva, por vezes forte, vento também forte. Possibilidade de trovoadas.
Whoa! Oh, our FM's working well. Okay, the FM is working, so the ECC 85 is fine. What else is fine? It could be, well, with the FM, that oscillator would not be working, so it could be the oscillator, could be the tuning condenser that's shorted. That could have happened because this thing was incredibly stiff. See, I'm not too interested. These things are jumping off. I've got to stick them back properly. Put this back on AM. It's like I've got no... Well, I'm going to do the obvious. I'm going to just replace the tubes. My simple tube test method is to use a known good tube, quickly replace it, and we'll know if there's something wrong. I'll try the ECH81 first. Let me put this off. Here's a new old stock one that I've got. I hope it's this one because I don't have a spare EAF801. Okay, ECH81 is in. Let's try now. And it's that one. Let it warm up. Ah, that was it. Okay. I am really glad it wasn't that tube over there because I don't have a spare one. This ECH81 is a goner, which doesn't surprise me. We already had one tube that was worn out. So, see if we get anything on shortwave. This is the wrong time of day for part of the band. Yeah, it's receiving. It's not easy to tune without a knob. Well, this side of the band is really lively. This will be the higher frequencies because I'm doing this in the morning. Brilliant. Long wave. I'm not sure if I'll pick up anything this time, but we'll try anyway. Yeah. Okay, all right, we found the problem. Well, we've actually got the solution. Just replace the tube. There's still quite a bit to do on this radio, and that's what I'm going to get going with. I'll be doing the final cleaning. There's a lot of cleaning to do over here. There are capacitors to change in the radio circuits. Haven't done any of those yet, but at least now we know we're working with a working radio, which means that any changes you make should just improve the result, and we can do a change, test it, change, test it, so you don't lose the function. The biggest problem you can have is when you make too many changes in one go, switch it on, nothing happens. You don't know which component change caused the issue. So in the next video, I'll be showing you the result of that, but primarily I want to do a quick alignment check on this, both RF and IF. And then of course I have the cabinet to do, and I think I'm going to strip the cabinet down to the bare wood and do a tip-tin on it. So, hope you've enjoyed this, and hope you haven't got too frustrated. I know I have. Dial chords always do that to me. But if you have enjoyed it, click like, share, subscribe, and all that jazz. And if you want to support the channel directly, you can do so on Patreon and PayPal. Links are in the description below. Once again, thanks for watching. Bye for now, and most of all, stay safe.